this a comfortable volume? So like many of you, I'm sure, I'm both elated and somewhat sad today, because we commemorate both a beginning and an end. It's life cycle events such as these that make that dichotomy awfully pronounced. I would start by picking up where last year's address left off, on the subject of discomfort. I'm a little uncomfortable. Of course, this is because I've been asked to speak publicly to you fine people, some of whom I know, some I don't. But it's also because I was selected by you all. And you, our guests of honor, have asked me to speak to you, as Alexandra just said, and here I stand largely with my back to you. And if I were to fix that somehow, right, by going to the other side of the book, turning around and bending the microphone and whatnot, that would just be weird. And I'd be even more uncomfortable. So I'll stick to the more traditional role. I'll stand like this. To you graduates, I don't mean to be rude. Let me at least tell you directly how grateful I am for inviting me to join in here. So it may be appropriate that I stand like this after all, because I consider myself a member of this class. I flatter myself thinking that that is reciprocated by some of these graduates. You see, we started here together the same year. It was their first year of high school, my first year teaching high school. And I had most of these students that first year since our students start with physics. In short, we cut our teeth together, we learned the ropes together. And over these past 4 years, we've all grown and changed so much. I should mention to the members of the audience that there may come a time during my talk when money will suddenly start changing hands behind me. That's because there may be an over-under bet going around. First among the graduates, but for all I know it could be going on among my colleagues too. The bet is how long I can keep it together up here. Because this is an emotional moment for me, because of how very dear I hold this class, for the reasons I just outlined. I would broaden this and say that this class is special in the history of the school. You're the first class to spend all 4 years here post-merger. But even beyond that, we knew there was something special about your group before you started classes. And you've only become a more impressive class with the students who have joined you since freshman year. When the Admiral himself takes a moment to say that he will miss you, as he did at the senior luncheon before his talks, you know there's something there. And as I saw coming in, I would just, if you guys didn't see this, our pledge sister is here, Mittens. So on to the address problem. I have never given a commencement address, I admit. I have relatively few models to go on. There are 3 to be precise, my own commencements over the years, the ones I've seen since being here at St. Francis. And Rodney Dangerfield's commencement address. Back to school. Yeah. The common ground among those is that the speaker offers advice to the graduating class, so I take that as my task today. I add that this talk is chiastically arranged, if you're into that sort of thing. So I would actually start with the last piece of advice in Rodney Dangerfield's speech. His is for a college graduation, but it's applicable here, I think. He says the following, quote, "To all you graduates, as you go out into the world, my advice to you is, don't go. It's rough out there. Move back with your parents. Let them worry about it." That's solid counsel. Seriously, guys, number 1 on my list, beware the real world. It is a beast, no matter who you are, no matter your ability, no matter your preparation. Nature itself is random, unjust, destructive. Then we people do cruel and even inconsiderate things to each other that I need not go into. Just follow the news or visit the chat rooms for examples. I think Woody Allen put it best in the movie Crimes and Misdemeanors. Quote, "It's worse than dog eat dog. Its dog doesn't return other dogs' phone calls." Along those lines, I would say to watch where you tread. If you've been to my classroom and seen the sticker on my whiteboard, you know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking about. There is a ubiquitous social practice that goes by a common two-letter name, but I will refer to here simply as basic slyness. On recognizing this practice, I would actually cite someone else's advice for you, namely Jon Stewart's. In his final appearance on The Daily Show last year, and no doubt referencing an earlier bit by George Carlin, Jon offered the following as his last bit of advice to his viewers. I quote the key elements here, it's pretty lengthy, so I just do the key things, make the appropriate adjustments. I quote, "Basic slyness is everywhere. There is very little that you will encounter in life that has not been, in some ways, infused with basic slyness. Not all of it bad. General day-to-day, organic, free-range basic slyness is often necessary, or at the very least innocuous. That kind of basic slyness in many ways provides important social contract fertilizer and keeps people from making each other cry all day. But then there's the more pernicious basic slyness, your premeditated institutional basic slyness, designed to obscure and distract. Designed by whom? The basic slyness ocracy. It comes in 3 basic flavors. Number 1, making bad things sound like good things. Organic, all natural cupcakes. Because factory-made sugar oatmeal balls doesn't sell. Patriot Act. Because are you scared enough to let us look at all your phone records act? Doesn't sell. Number 2, the second way, hiding the bad things under mountains of basic slyness, complexity. You know, I would love to download Drizzy's latest Meek Mill diss, but I'm not really interested right now in reading Tolstoy's iTunes agreement. So I'll just click agree, even if it grants Apple my firstborn. And finally, it's the basic slyness of infinite possibility. These basic slynessers cover their unwillingness to act under the guise of unending inquiry. We can't do anything because we don't yet know everything. We cannot take action on climate change until everyone in the world agrees that gay marriage vaccines won't cause our children to marry goats and we're gonna come for our guns. There are other basic flavors of this slyness, of course. Just watch where you tread. Number 2, respect your elders, beginning with those in your families. I know this is difficult to accept at your age, but it's something I think you will grow to appreciate. You are here because of the people in this room. Whether it's your parents or guardians, your older siblings, or simply people who stepped in because those folks were not around, you have family. Thank them, because they have made great sacrifices to put you in the seats you occupy right now. These people have taught you to do the most basic things in life, to walk, to eat, to speak. They changed your diaper. No doubt pausing on occasion to pat your naked baby butt. These people knew you before you had any awareness of yourself and your place in this world, and they have done everything they can to guide you toward being someone the rest of us can live with. Show them the respect that they deserve. Number 3, think critically about your priorities. We do peculiar things as human beings. We cry when our sports teams lose, yet watch the news with blank expressions. We gather by the thousands to watch instruments of war perform stunning aerial maneuvers before hundreds of pyrotechnics are detonated in the air we breathe. I'm as guilty as anyone of these things, so I do not point fingers here. I just want you all to think, as the next generation, of how we might reconsider our priorities. Number 4, unplug. Rethink your relationship with your phone and your video games, guys. While you are looking at a screen to play some game, catch the latest gossip, you are missing the life around you. And many times being rude in the process. And it's a gloomy prognosis if you keep this up. Aside from the long-term effects on your eyesight, these devices are having pretty serious consequences on your brain, especially as teenagers. And these have been broadcast widely over the past year or so by neurologists like Francis Jensen. You are patterning synapses in ways that will prove exceedingly difficult, if not impossible, to undo down the road. It's an addiction like any other. Most importantly for me as a teacher, and perhaps more deeply for us as a civilization, it's compromising our very ability to learn as human beings. Of the several cartoons I have in my room, only one made it to the outside on the bulletin board I have for public consumption. It asks the question, do you really know what you're doing, or do you Google search know? It's a little more arduous to really know about something, but it's much more durable, that knowledge, and ultimately much more gratifying. And there is a wonderful, not so new invention to help you on this path to really knowing things. It's called the Bio-Optical Organized Knowledge Device, or BOOK. And how can you break your addiction to these electronics and help remedy the effects it has on your relationships? Here I would quote from the great late 20th century and early 21st century philosopher, Mitchell Lee Hedberg. Who knows? I don't own a cell phone or a pager. I just hang around everyone I know all the time. If someone wants to get a hold of me, they just say Mitch. And I say what? And turn my head slightly. Number 5, prioritize thinking critically. If there is anything I have taught you during your time here, it would have nothing to do with physics or history. It would be to think critically about everything, regardless of where you see it or from whom you learn it. It's very easy to do. Just ask for the evidence behind someone's claim, then let reason and the platinum rule be your guide. Number 6, respect your juniors, for they are the next generation. And the people they will become is based in large part on the elders they encounter, including you. It is up to you to set the example, as your families have teachers have tried to do time and time again. And believe it or not, your juniors have much to teach you. What you all have taught me, seasoned old geezer, is proof of that. I learned that thing that toddlers do, where they run around and put their hands on everything, you guys still do that. I learned from you all that a student will send me a 5-page email explaining why he or she shouldn't write a 3-page paper. And perhaps most importantly, I learned the answer to the burning physics question you all brought me as freshmen. Do you torque when you twerk? The answer is undoubtedly yes. Number 7, and finally, embrace the real world. The world we have is magnificent. It is endlessly beautiful, fascinating at every turn. And the more you learn about it, the more fascinating it becomes. And that is solely what nature itself has to offer us. On the interhuman level, the world is no less fascinating. People themselves are enigmas, wrapped in mysteries, generally wrapped in clothes. And while they are capable of the most heinous things, they are equally capable of the most beautiful acts of kindness. Even Anne Frank wrote, I quote, "In spite of everything, I still believe people are really good at heart." And you are well prepared for this world. You could not have asked for a better group of people to help guide you through these 4 years of your life and to prepare you for what's coming, because nobody really knows what that is. That lengthy quote by Jon Stewart that I read earlier, it actually ends on a positive note. He says, quote, "Now the good news is this, the basic Slynosaurs have gotten pretty lazy, and their work is easily detected. And looking for it is kind of a pleasant way to pass the time, like an I Spy of basic slyness. So I say to you tonight, friends, the best defense against basic slyness is vigilance, end quote. Now here I would disagree with Jon Stewart slightly. The reason that their work is easily detected now is not because of their laziness. It is because of the vigilance of each successive generation, made all the more potent by the ever-increasing ability to communicate with each other. I end with two quotes, one paraphrase. The movie Crimes and Misdemeanors, which I mentioned earlier, depicts a morally upright figure, the rabbi played by Sam Waterston, who has been afflicted with blindness. Alongside this, we find his ophthalmologist, an adulterer and murderer, played by Martin Landau, who, unlike Rodion Raskolnikov, does not cave to his guilt, but rather lives happily ever after. As the rabbi is dancing with his daughter on her wedding day, we see scenes from the movie, over which we hear the following quote from a philosopher, another main character in the movie. The quote is as follows. We're all faced throughout our lives with agonizing decisions, moral choices. Some are on a grand scale. Most of these choices, though, are on lesser points. But we define ourselves by the choices we have made. We are, in fact, the sum total of our choices. Events unfold so unpredictably, so unfairly. Human happiness does not seem to have been included in the design of creation. It is only we, with our capacity to love, that give meaning to the indifferent universe. And yet, most human beings seem to have the ability to keep trying and even to find joy from simple things, like their family, their work, and from the hope that future generations might understand more. And that's where you all come in. You are the future generation, and that is your charge, to understand more. And a class like yours gives me more hope than I dared imagine when I started here. Finally, almost me. Finally, each year the Hasty Pudding Club in Cambridge, Massachusetts selects a man of the year and a woman of the year. This is usually a high-profile actor and actress who is brought to Cambridge, paraded about the city and by men in drag, then brought to the theater stage to address the public. Sigourney Weaver was the Woman of the Year in 1998, when I was living in Boston. I've been unable to find a transcript of her speech, so I paraphrase here based on what I remember. It speaks to the club members, all of them undergrads in college, and she says more or less the following. You sprinkle in passion for work, raw intelligence, a few characters, and a little mischief. And rather than a chaotic mess of some cornmeal hash, what you get is the most elegant souffle. That is the metaphor I would leave you with. To the class of 2016, you are why we're here. To celebrate you for all your work, your raw intelligence, for the characters you have in your class, and yes, even for your mischief. We celebrate you for all the joy you have brought us, the things you have taught us, and the accomplishments in your future that we wait to hear about with great anticipation. You mean more to the people in this room than you can possibly imagine. And your spirit is etched not only into the halls of our school, but also into our hearts.